No humanitarian aid or commercial goods have been allowed into Gaza since the 2nd of March, which has devastating humanitarian consequences in the Gaza Strip. The Secretary-General continues to call for humanitarian aid to reach all people in need.
Israel decided not to take part in this circus. It is another attempt to politicize and abuse the legal process in order to persecute Israel. The goal is to deprive Israel of its most basic right to defend itself. The ICJ is becoming completely politicized. Legal means are being used time and again to promote the Palestinians' political agenda. But the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will not be decided by courts.
There are a couple of different implications for the case after this hearing and after we receive the advisory opinion. The first is the most immediate, which is we will know in international law with certainty whether Israel has to allow humanitarian aid by UNRWA. We will know that. The larger implications, though, is that we will know better, do states, when they occupy another territory outside, do they have to let the UN in? Do they have to let aid in? And that will have very profound implications for how states interact into the future. Think about states that are currently occupying other territory. Think about states that may wish to occupy other states' territory. The US invading Greenland and some of these other extreme examples. They will now know what they have to do in relation to the United Nations. Certainly, if Israel said, we don't want the United Nations in Israel, we would have a certain conversation about legal rights and duties there. But this is quite different to say that you can occupy territory outside of your state and expel the UN from that territory.
That's really the heart of why Palestine and over 40 other states are addressing the court today. It is not about the number of aid trucks Israel is or is not allowing into the occupied Palestinian territory, especially Gaza. It is not about Israel destroying it is about Israel destroying the fundamentals of life in Palestine while it blocks UN and other humanitarians from providing life-saving aid to the population. It is about Israel unraveling fundamental principles of international law, including their obligations under the UN Charter. It is about Israel turning Palestine, in particularly Gaza, into a mass grave for Palestinians and those coming to their aid.
Israel has several obligations in relation to the presence and activities of the United Nations in the occupied Palestinian territory by virtue of its status as the occupying power. These obligations include the following obligations under international humanitarian law: the overarching obligation to administer the territory for the benefit of the local population, the obligation to agree to and facilitate relief schemes, the obligation to facilitate the proper working of all institutions devoted to the care and education of children, and the obligation to maintain the medical and hospital establishments and services, including those set up by United Nations entities.